It seems that YouTubers can now make a living just exposing all of the corruption within the local church. Now, I find no joy when I hear about another Christian leader falling from grace. It seems to happen to a lot of our heroes of the faith, no matter what stream or tradition you're in. I've learned to gather facts before I make a judgment call. It doesn't take long to be in ministry to learn that people love to lie, but I am grateful for those who intervene by speaking truth to power. But tragically, by the time people finally decide to intervene, it is usually too late. Now, there are three ways Christian leaders can lose their soul. One is from burnout, two is a departure from orthodoxy, and the other one is just moral failure. And you know what's better than intervention? Prevention. That way a pile of bodies aren't run over before the leader is first confronted. So is there a way that we can prevent this from happening in the first place? This book is a step in the right direction. Hey Van Campers, I'm Pastor Trey, and I believe one reason your life is filled with frustration is because you are not intentional with spiritual formation. And so if you sub to this channel, I can help you get more intentional in your walk with Jesus. Now, one way I can help you is by pointing you towards the right books. Today's book, I've read 3 times in the last 3 years, and I plan on reading it again very, very soon. This book is called Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership by Ruth Haley Barton. Let me just say, if you are going to be a book reviewer, do not take away the paper covers. I threw them all away literally 3 months ago and then decided to do this with my channel. Anyways, today I don't want to give you a line-by-line review of the book. That feels way too much like Homer. Instead, I'm going to give you 3 takeaways that have helped shape my life and leadership as a pastor and just a Christian leader. So, number 1 is hidden drivers. There are always hidden dynamics driving our leadership, which actually leads to a lot of corruption, and Barton does a great job listing the many ways we may be doing the right things for all the wrong reasons, which leads to all sorts of abuse. So some people are hesitant digging into our past and talking about our family trees, but I found Pete Scazzero's wisdom on this to be right on point. He says, quote, "Jesus may be in your heart, but grandpa is still in your bones." That's some wisdom right there. So she gives a lot about hidden dynamics that can drive us in our day-to-day leadership, a lot of different examples. So for example, if you have a stern and demanding parent, you're more likely to put yourself on a performance treadmill. It's good to know this, and it's why you're exhausted right now. Or you were raised in a punishing environment, and it has created within you this perfectionist tendency. And so ministry is never good enough because you're never good enough. Or if you're raised in an unpredictable environment, you have a tendency towards fear. You always assume the worst. And this means your leadership is more prone to avoid risks and exposing yourself and your followers to potential danger. But what is leadership if we don't take risks? I read a book one day. It talks about leadership as taking people into the white water of life. And so it's just refreshing to read a leadership book that doesn't focus on the latest hack to get people to drive by your church. She's more concerned with the health of the leader because it will determine the health of the church. Number 2 is practicing prayer. So at the end of each chapter, she gives the reader an opportunity to practice what they've learned. This is what I really love about spiritual formation. So she is primarily talking about the practices of silence, solitude, and prayer, which doesn't come easy to most of us. And especially with prayer, growing up, I never liked the idea of someone else telling me what to pray. I think it felt a little bit too Catholic for me or something. But since I started to really dive into spiritual formation a few years back, I have found prayers that other people have written, they have been the lifeline for my life and ministry at times. It has been the guiding source to keep me from bitterness, resentment, and selfishness. And so there are a lot of prayers she offers, but this one is by far my favorite, by Ted Loder. It says this: "O Lord, deepen my wounds into wisdom, shape my weaknesses into compassion, gentle my envy into enjoyment, my fear into trust, my guilt into honesty." I've been holding on to that prayer for a while, and I suggest that you do too. On to the last reason you need to buy this book and read it for yourself. Number 3 is establishing rhythms. So since 2019, I have determined to never preach on hope if I don't also teach on habit. Now, habits do not earn the grace of God, but they certainly make more space for the grace of God. And that's why I'm completely sold on them. This is why I love all of Ruth Haley Barton's books. She focuses on spiritual formation and the practices and how all of our heart, our mind, and our body are all connected. And so she said the following on page 116 that I think is really helpful for all leaders. Part of Moses' job as a spiritual leader was to establish rhythms for life in community that would sustain the people and help them live as human beings in the presence of Almighty God. So there are a few ways we've tried to apply this into my own congregation to introduce these rhythms to help people walk in the presence of God. One way we talk about it is God time, gather time, group time, and go time. And so we talk about establishing these daily and weekly habits, really focusing on where our time is spent. And the idea is if we spend our time in those 4 categories, we have a way better chance of being with Jesus and becoming more like Jesus in our day-to-day life. Also, I talk about this in my upcoming book, but another way I'm really processing these rhythms that Ruth Haley Barton really touches on is I talk about in my new book establishing a digital way of life, a devotional way of life, and a dinner way of life. And I really think those are the 3 rhythms in our cultural moment that we need the most. And so if you're interested in that, I wish I can say, here's my book and here's the cover. It's all so close. For now, I'd love for you to sign up for my newsletter at the link in the description. It will give you updates on when this book comes out. It's going to be soon, I promise, and I'm just really excited for it. Which of these 3 takeaways compelled you to get this book? Again, has a way better cover. I threw it away. It's too late. I can never get it back. Comment below, and I will pick one lucky winner to get this book for free. If you enjoy these book reviews, may I also suggest watching this one right here. And until I see you next time, Jesus is better.